The new channel. See the new. The views, opinions, and insights expressed in the following show are those of the hosts, producers, guests, and viewers. They do not necessarily reflect the position of the channel. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hey, what's up, Mike?
Welcome to the new channel. Here to help you see the new you, live stream from Tennessee. My name is Dr. Mike Chua, and
this is Bert Devera, physical therapist, streaming live from Texas, and this is iBusiness.
all right,
Hey,
I think we
hey.
are live here in Tennessee. Good morning in the Philippines, and of course, good evening
Good
here
evening.
in Tennessee. And I'm here coming to you live here from the beautiful city, Martin, Tennessee, very big city. And we have Bert Devera. Bert, what's going on in Texas?
What's happening, my friend? Nothing much. It's as usual. Everything is big in Texas, right? As they say, but we have a good weather today. We didn't get any rain, so saw some patients today myself, so it's been busy. How about you? How's the practice?
Well, it's growing, man. We're getting busy with all this stuff going on. There's always a happy problem. We get so much no's, no, some rejections every now and then in our business, but most of the time we get all the yes in the if we keep going. Hey, I love that coffee cup there. Is there any sign for iBusiness there?
No, it says change the world.
Change
There
the
you go.
world.
How about
I got this special shout out to Yeti.
that?
Before we keep going, I just would like to say hello for those people in the Philippines who are watching live. Please comment live. If you're watching on the replay, please comment replay because we want to know if you are watching live. And right now, I see Ivy Enting. Hey, Ivy, what's going on? I know Ivy. She's part of my CDP class. And Jen A. Rosario. Hello there. If you
Hello,
are
Jen.
if you are watching live, please comment where you at. We want to know where you at. We want to give a special shout out. Put in your state, put in your city, put in wherever you are. We want to know where you at, and maybe we know somebody there, and we can connect you with somebody else. Bert, what's going on in the business world? You're the businessman there.
Well, like I said, it's getting busier. However, we heard some news today here in the state of Texas that some of the elective surgeries are going to be stopped because there's been a spike in the COVID, cases that we have here in the state. And as a matter of fact, it's kind of sad news to hear that one of my son's teammates was tested positive. My son plays basketball. He's about to turn 17. And one of the teammates turned positive for COVID, and we're praying hard for him, and hopefully he'll recover soon. So that's what's been happening. So if you're in the healthcare field and you're out there seeing patients, please be very careful. Put on your PPEs, your mask, your gloves. You can't take this very lightly. You have to really take this seriously. You have to protect yourself because by the time you get home, then you mingle with your family. You got to make sure that they're safe. From this virus. Okay, so that's what's been happening, and As a matter of fact, there's been rumors that by tomorrow, not actually a rumor, it's actually in the news. At least here in our city, by tomorrow, everyone in the public will have to wear mask, as mandated by our what do you call this? Our local
They-
officials. Yeah.
Also here in Tennessee, we are mandated to wear a mask in public places, and I'm wearing masks at work. I'm wearing mask when I see patient, and I take it off when I'm driving my car. And then you go to a facility like the other day, I went to Dunkin' Donuts. Shout out to Dunkin'
Mm.
Donuts. We need those Dunkin' Donuts, right? I went there because I wanted to be healthy. I ate Dunkin' Donuts. Dr. Ravi will be lecturing me about it. So I went to Dunkin' Donuts. I bought what do you call this? A box of it. And the guy said, "Oh, you got to leave, sir." I said, "Why? You don't have a mask." So I think it's very good. You know, it's a precautionary measures that we can do, and then just keep moving our life forward. But before we keep moving forward, I just want to give a shout out to Lin Young. Thank you very much for watching live. To Mabin Sanchez, she is in the Philippines, live from the Philippines. Graciela DF, that's a nice last name, DF. Wow. And Jen, she's watching from Pampanga. Are you from Pampanga, Bert? Oh, you're from Tarlac,
I'm
right?
from Tarlac, but I speak the same local language. So
Really? What's the language in Pampanga?
we call it Kapangpangan, and we call them as Kabalen, meaning you're from the same place.
Kabalen is like brother or
Kabalen.
sister. Is that right?
It's like a fellow countryman or something like that. So
Okay. What's the language?
Kapangpangan is the language.
Kapampangan, yeah, Kapampangan.
Yes,
Yeah, that's good. That's
yes,
good.
it's a
Good
language.
morning,
Yeah.
Saito. How are you doing? Well, anyway, before we keep on moving forward, last time when we were talking about the I business show, the reason why we have the I in the business is because this acronym here, it only means improve your influence and impact in your industry. So basically, we're gonna teach you how to improve your influence and impact in your industry. So what we're gonna be talking about is the mentor method, mentor. How to be a mentor to somebody else, and how to be a mentor to younger generation, a mentor to somebody else, a mentor to me and to me, because Bert is actually a mentor. He guided me, he mentored me, and that's what we want to do. That's what we want to be, so we can be the best that we can be. So mentor. No, if you are watching live, please write this down. Write this down because it's very important that you follow this blueprint. So letter M is you have to meet a need. Meet a need.
Meet the need.
In my case, I'm a physical therapist, and I've met a need by serving the dementia audience. And that's my specialty. I'm a certified dementia practitioner, and I met that need. And then what's the next letter? Letter E. Letter E is educate. You have to learn how to educate that specific niche or that specific audience. In that way, they see you as the authority. How do you become an authority? How do you become an authority? You become an author. You become an author. You write a book, you write a course, you teach classes. In that way, you become the actual authority. So let's letter E, educate. What's the next letter? Letter N. You have to learn how to network. You network with other people. You network with those people who are actually specializing in that field. So in my case, it's dementia. So I've specialized. I've networked with neurologists. I've networked with different physicians. In that way, the people in the therapy world will think I'm the expert, which hopefully I am, right? And then the next letter is letter T. You have to find a team of people that will actually push you to your next level. You have to find a team of people that will actually push you to your next level. What does it mean? When you go to when you watch a basketball team, when you watch a football team, guess what? Those players, they find teammates that are actually good. Just like Bert. I've asked Bert, "Hey Bert, could you be part of my team?" And he's like, "Yeah, why not? You're a superstar, right?" So just kidding, just kidding. So that's the next letter, letter T. Find a team of people that will push you to your next level. And next letter is letter O. What's letter O? One-on-one. Bert did that to me. He did a one-on-one coaching. He would call me, "Hey, Michael, this is what you do, this is what you do, this is what you do." And that's what I have. You have to have a one-on-one coach that will push you to your next level, because without that one-on-one coaching, guess what? You're just watching, you're just listening to that person, right? And last but not the least, letter R. You have to have repeat and recurring revenue, repeat or recurring revenue. And that's the blueprint. That's the blueprint of having this mentor method and how you can improve your influence and impact in your industry. So that's what Bert is doing to me. He's my mentor. So he's my mentor. I'm gonna stop talking. Go ahead, Bert. What else?
Well, that's awesome, Mike. Again, mentor method. It's really great because it's direct to the point, and I believe our audience is really gonna benefit from that. So speaking of mentorship, tonight we're gonna be mentored by a great physician whom I personally know, and he's actually my tennis partner. We've played tennis for so many years, and talk about coaching. His wife is actually our coach, and sometimes she coaches us one-on-one. And his wife played at Wimbledon, world-class tennis player, played for the university where he went to school, and that's actually where they met. But before I tell the whole story, I'd like to introduce to you our guest for tonight. That way you can hear from him, his side of the story, how he got here in the States, how he became a physician. And if you guys have any questions, especially doctors from different countries, if you're an MD from the Philippines and an MD from different parts of Asia or any other country, and you want to be here in the US, you want to be a doctor here in the US, you're wondering, how do you practice as a physician here in the States? How do you even, get your practice together? And not only that, how do you get into residency programs? And what are the efficient ways of running your practice? Those are the things we're going to talk about tonight. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce our guest for tonight. Our guest for tonight is a doctor here in Corpus Christi, Texas. He's an ophthalmologist. He went to Texas A&M University, College Station for his undergrad and for a degree in College of Medicine. And then he took his internship at Baylor College of Medicine in Galveston. And then he took his residency in the renowned clinic, Mayo Clinic in Rochester, Minnesota.
Oh,
then
wow.
after that, he went back to University of Texas in Galveston to finish his fellowship in glaucoma. And without further ado, guys, I'd like to welcome our guest for tonight, Dr. Ravi Krishnan.
Good evening, guys. Thank you
right.
for having me on your show. Thank you.
Good evening,
Thank
Dr.
you, Dr. Ravi,
Ravi.
for joining us tonight. I appreciate you joining us. So,
Pleasure.
Dr. Ravi, I think, was I right in introducing your background?
Yes,
Did I
but
miss anything?
thank you for graciously explaining my background and introducing me. Yes.
That's awesome. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about yourself? About your when did you get here and your story and your background? We want to get to know you more.
I was born in India. I'm Indian by origin, but I spent my childhood in Africa, in various countries in Africa. First in Nigeria, then briefly in Ethiopia, where my parents were school teachers. Both of them were school teachers in the 60s. And then our family ended up in Zambia in Central Africa, where I spent the majority of my childhood until we all immigrated to the US in 1981. I was 15 at the time. And so I came here at kind of an awkward age in many senses. I finished the second part of high school in Houston, Texas. And then I completed my undergrad and medical school, as you've described. And here I am in Corpus Christi, Texas now.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Bert, before you keep going, I want to ask Dr. Ravi,
Sure.
I want to ask Dr. Ravi. Dr. Ravi, so you came in at 15 years old, from India.
From Zambia.
Oh, from Zambia.
Africa. Yes.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. Well, first of all, namaste.
Namaste.
In the Philippines, I grew up with Indian people, and I love all the Indian food. Of course, the Indian music is just loud and crazy and just crazy, And I miss it, And my wife, she likes the chicken curry, and she cooks this meal. I forgot the name. It has chicken curry too, and it's just so good. It's just so good.
Chicken masala.
Do you still cook Indian food?
Good stuff.
Good stuff. Yeah.
Excellent.
Yep.
Excellent. Bert?
Yep. So I have further questions for you, Dr. Ravi. So when you came here at the age of 15, obviously obviously you're an immigrant like us. We're both from the Philippines. I want to dig deeper into your story because right now we are experiencing, unprecedented, problems with racism. Right? It's the elephant in the room. It's a topic a lot of people don't want to talk about, but we will talk about it. Okay. So during your time in high school or even in college, did you face any racism? And if yes, how did you overcome that?
Yeah, so the answer is yes, and the thing is, some of it is to be expected. This was in the 80s. Things were a little different at the time. We, of course, as immigrants, have to make an adjustment. There was a little bit of a culture shock. For us, language was not so much of a problem. Many immigrants face discrimination and racism because they don't know the language and it's difficult to communicate. But for us, language was not a problem because we spoke English in Zambia and continued here. But there were not a whole lot of racism, but there were certainly certain instances, both in high school and in undergrad and at various points through my career. But you learn to deal with adversity. Simply given a chance to move to the US was an opportunity enough, and so we had to make the most of it.
That's right. That's right. And I think all of us, to some degree, have faced some sort of racism. I mean, I personally did, and I shared that in our last episode where one of my patients told me that I was stealing jobs here in the US, but I'm not going to go into that since I was already part of the last episode. Besides that question about racism, I want to ask you next about choosing medicine as your profession. What made you choose that profession, knowing that none of your parents are doctors?
Yeah, a very interesting question. It may sound like a cliche, but I cannot remember a time when I never thought I would be a doctor or at least do something in the field of medicine. My father was a science teacher. He actually got accepted to medical school and went for one day and then could not pay the bills. And so his father pulled him out. So my father encouraged my brother, who is also a doctor in Houston, he encouraged my brother and I to pursue a career in science, in medicine, hopefully. But we were always intrigued by his science experiments. He had a science laboratory at his school. We were fascinated by the little jars of snakes and other things he had in the lab. And we happened to live in a very rural part of Zambia. We were out in what they call the bush. And so the forest was our backyard. We saw tons of wild animals. And somehow all that stuff kind of stuck in our minds. And then as we grew, we decided we wanted to be in a field where we could use science and also help people. I was also very interested in engineering. In fact, my undergraduate degree is in electrical engineering. And so as a child, I would also find myself taking apart things to try and figure out how they worked. So for me, this was a perfect synthesis where I could apply biology as well as math and science. And my field of ophthalmology is a perfect blend of all that for me.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow. I'm going to talk a little bit there. I'm going to talk a little bit because doctor said synthesis. That's a hard spelling there. It's a combination of engineering and ophthalmology. And actually, he's correct. It's like engineering and biology, and what you end up with is ophthalmology. And there's so much technology in that specialty field. But before we keep on moving forward, before Bert keeps on asking questions to Dr. Ravi, I just wanted to give a shout out to Jen Rosario. She said, "Maayap ke kayungan." Maayap ke kayungan. What does that mean, Bert? Do you know what that means? Could you
It's like
Jen?
it's like a greeting. It's a local greeting. It's like how do you say that? It's like namaste. It's like saying that
Okay. It's like hi, hello too.
good
Okay.
tidings to you, something like that. So yeah,
Cool.
that's what it
Well,
means.
I'm writing down notes. If you are watching live and watching on the replay, make sure you're writing down notes because all this stuff here, it's very important. It's very rare that you get to talk to an actual, real board certified physician here. So he mentioned here that he have also encountered some racism, but did that stop him from succeeding in life? No. he just keep on pushing forward. He just kept on pushing forward. In life, you will encounter a lot of no's. You will encounter a lot of rejection. You will encounter actual racism. But you have to go over that. You have to keep pushing forward, because it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how many times you failed or fallen or got sick. What matters is how many times you get up and do this all over again. And just like Dr. Ravi's doing, he just keeps on moving forward. Now, guess what? What happened to him? He's like a physician, ophthalmologist, board certified, everything. I mean, that a physician can do, an immigrant can do here. And he's taking that opportunity to push on and to be a better person in Corpus Christi, Texas. Bert?
Yeah, so for the benefit of our listeners who are in the medical field, like physicians from different countries, can you explain to us real quick, how does the system work here in the US? Like, how many years do you have to be in residency, and how do you get into a residency program? Because I know a lot of physicians, foreign trained physicians, that are having a hard time getting to this program. So are there any politics into it? What's going on in there?
So it's of course a long and tough process, and in the US, as in any country, the field of medicine requires a lot of dedication, a lot of hard work, good grades across the board. So here in the US, unlike India and perhaps the Philippines, in the US, you have to go to undergrad first. You get a degree in undergrad. It does not have to be in anything medical necessarily. You can do just about anything. This is the magic of the United States. You could get a degree in economics or mathematics, but you have to take certain core classes that qualify you to apply to medical school. So medical school here is typically entered into after 4 years of undergrad. Now, if you're a super exceptional student, you may get accepted in some schools after 3 years of undergraduate. You may take an early acceptance if they take you. But you have to take certain core classes. You sit for an entrance exam. It's the MCAT. You go for interviews if you're selected. And then after that, if you join medical school, it is typically 4 years. 4 years of medical school. The first 2 years are what we call didactic, meaning you're sitting in the classroom and taking lectures in basic sciences. And then the third and fourth years, you're on the floor, meaning you're in the hospital making rounds, seeing different specialties, starting to decide what interests you and where you're going to end up later on. And in the fourth year of medical school, you start to apply to residency. Residency is where you do your focus training in the area that you have chosen. Some specialties require an internship. Ophthalmology is one of them. We typically do a year, and you can do a general year of medicine, which is what I ended up doing. You can do a transitional year, which is a little bit of a mixture. You can do a year of research. So that is done 1 year prior to entering ophthalmology residency itself. The residency in ophthalmology is typically 3 years. And then following that, you can further specialize in one of many, many areas in ophthalmology. We have at least 10 different subspecialties in ophthalmology. I have chosen glaucoma, but you could do retina, you can do ocular pathology, you can do cornea, etc., etc. And the length of residencies besides ophthalmology varies according to specialty. Some of them are shorter. For instance, family practice is about 3 years. And some of them can be even longer. Cardiovascular surgery can be 7 years, sometimes 9 years. Neovascular surgery or neurosurgery can be long too. So it just depends on which program you decide to enter into.
Great. That's awesome. Mike, you have any questions for Dr. Ravi?
I have a question. I know Dr. Ravi did his undergraduate here in the States, but we were thinking, my daughter, she wants to be a physician, sir. And we were thinking of her going back home to the Philippines and doing her, her MD there back home. Is it advisable, Dr. Ravi, to do it outside of the country and back here because of, school loans and debts and everything? Or is it worth it here to do your med school here and get the debt, or go back to the Philippines or another country to save a little bit money there? I mean,
sure. So there are
if you're going to do it all over again, what are you going to do? So
yes, there are definitely pros and cons to both situations. Of course, it would be far cheaper to do a medical degree in another country. You certainly save money. Medical school education is not cheap. And when you get into a residency, you don't make that much money. In fact, when I was doing my first year prior to joining ophthalmology, I once calculated I was making less than minimum wage over here, but that is all part of the territory, because there are good things coming after that. And the good news is that once you achieve your goals, once you become a doctor, you're never going to starve in the US, and you will more than make up the money that you have put into it. You pay off student loans, whatever it takes. It's very easy here to get loans. They make it easy for students to continue to study and so on. The trouble with doing a degree in a foreign country is that it's harder to come back and join a program here. And you may also not get your choice of specialty because it is so competitive. Some specialties are super competitive, especially the surgical subspecialties. And unless you are very, very brilliant and have excellent credentials, it can be very hard to get something in a field that you desire if you choose to do something surgical or something highly competitive.
Perfect. Well, before we keep going, I know it's our time. Speaking of very competitive, we have to have get a short break. Again, we'll be back in a few minutes. All right, we are back. But before we keep going, I just would like to give a special shout out to our different shows. First of all, we want to put up the big picture by and with Lloyd Luna, the none other than the best, the awesome, the dashing, the debonair Lloyd Luna. It's Monday to Friday at 7 p.m. That's the Philippine time, okay? Next is the HR hotline. We don't want to hear that here in the US, but in the Philippines, they love that. They love the HR hotline with Jesse Rebustillo every Tuesday and Thursday, 12 noon. Again, that is in the Philippine time. And of course, the U-Turn show with Miss Carmine Ortega, where they ask you to go left, to go right, and basically ask you to make a U-turn for your life. And then that's Mondays and Thursdays at 11 a.m. in the morning. And of course, the home buyer, if you are interested in learning how to be a better home buyer or whatever you call that, with Dante Salamat. That's a great last name. Last Salamat in our language is thank you. So Dante, thank you for doing that home buyer show. It's every Tuesday and Saturday. I assume that's 4 p.m. in the afternoon. Again, that is the Philippine time. And of course, last but not the least, the puppet stories with Mr. Juan Lu. I've seen and heard him. He is an awesome puppeteer, whatever you call that, or ventriloquist. I'll say it's just puppet. I don't know how to spell ventriloquist, but go ahead and watch that. The world premiere is at June the 30th. That's Tuesday, 5 p.m. again in Philippine time. Again, we are going to be back here in our show, iBusiness, wherein we help you improve your influence and impact in your industry. Bert.
Yep. Thanks for staying with us, guys. And we want to bring back Dr. Ravi Krishnan for further questions. I'm sure our audience are enjoying this episode tonight, and I don't want to miss this very important question, because a lot of us at some point will have some vision problems, right? So, Doc Ravi, I'd like to ask you this question. And this is about your specialty, glaucoma. So, for the benefit of the public, what do we need to be aware of as far as glaucoma? What are the early signs, and when do we need to see a doctor?
That's a great question, Bert, and I'm glad you asked me that and give me an opportunity to address this here. But before I get into that, I forgot to mention one thing when we were talking about the process of joining medical school and the pros and cons of doing it here in the United States or going abroad and coming back. And that is that you have to take the US MLE if you're a foreign graduate of a medical school. That is yet one more hurdle, but that is involved in the process over here. So we have to keep that in mind. Now, coming back to glaucoma, first of all, glaucoma is a very serious and blinding disease. It has to do with increased pressure in the eye. We have fluid inside the eye that creates some amount of pressure, but for various reasons, and there are many different kinds of glaucoma, if you have a buildup of the fluid, it will cause pressure to eat up the optic nerve and then slowly but surely cause blindness, which is irreversible. And we're talking about complete blindness, unlike cataract or a few other diseases, which is sometimes reversible. Glaucoma is irreversible. So it's very, very devastating. And the trouble with glaucoma is that there are no warning signs in the early stages. By the time people notice that there's something wrong with the vision, it's often too late. So the best way is prevention. And this involves regular checkups with the ophthalmologist or optometrist. And the checkup should include checking the intraocular pressure and also dilating the eyes and looking in detail at the optic nerve to make sure there's no damage. If damage is suspected, then we get a computerized field of vision test. And if glaucoma is confirmed, then we begin treatment, which is varied. It could be eye drops. We have all kinds of lasers, and we have all types of surgeries for advanced cases. But the sooner the glaucoma is diagnosed, the higher the chances of keeping your vision and not going blind.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Well, thanks, Doc, for that info.
Thank you.
Go ahead, Mike.
That info, Dr. Ravi. For those people who are watching, if you know anybody that has glaucoma, it's hard to say. How do you say it again, Dr. Ravi?
Glaucoma.
Glaucoma. Glaucoma. If you know somebody, type in glaucoma on the chat box, because we want to know if you were. I had my grandparents who had glaucoma, and most of the time they would ask us, "Hey, what's wrong with your eyes? It's glaucoma, cataract, or whatever." So thank you for sharing what is glaucoma, Dr. Ravi. So Dr. Ravi also mentioned, I was writing it down, prevention. Early detection is the key. In any kind of disease, early detection is the key. In same thing when you're starting a business, you have to make sure you're identifying if you got a problem in your business, early detection. Because if you don't detect, if you don't identify, or if you don't diagnose, you're going to have a hard time when it's worse already, all right, Bert?
Yeah, so going back to the topic of getting to residency program, I forgot to ask this earlier. Is it safe to say that the U.S. is favoring U.S. graduates first to get into their residency as compared to foreign-trained physicians?
Yes, I think that's a fair assessment. So especially the competitive subspecialties, things like orthopedic surgery, ophthalmology happens to be there too, dermatology. These are highly sought after residency programs, and the residency programs have their pick of the crop, if you will. They can pick the best students. They have lots of applicants, and they tend to choose, for the most part, people that have gone to schools in the US, have graduated with a medical degree in the US. Now, sometimes if somebody is exceptional, they've done exceptionally well abroad, they have done some research, they have papers behind their name. In some instances, I know in ophthalmology for sure, we have ophthalmologists that have already completed training in a foreign country that come back and repeat the training. They will have to redo their residency but they have to be very lucky to get one of those spots here. It is very competitive.
Wow. Mike, any questions?
Well, I just wanted to share this video to my wife because she's really encouraging her daughter to go home to the Philippines and do that the medical degree program in the Philippines, because it's really, really affordable and cheap. And they have this what you call LEAP program now, where in the actual undergraduate plus the MD is like only 6 years. And I don't know what it consisted of, but Dr. Ravi mentioned about MLE and of course favoring all those US trained, and let's face it, it's going to be a challenge for you to come back, like what Dr. Ravi said. So thank you for bringing light into that. So thank you.
All right. So I wanted to dig deeper into your daily practice, if you don't mind. What is a typical day in your practice as an ophthalmologist? How many surgeries do you do? What time do you start your day? When do you end? And give us that picture.
Sure. So the reason I chose ophthalmology, that I mentioned, part of the reason I chose is because ophthalmology is such a varied field. I get to see both sexes. I get to see patients of all ages. I get to do surgery, as much surgery as I want. And I also get to do medicine. I see people in the clinic as well and take care of things that are non-surgical. So my day is very varied, and it keeps me interested. And as we've mentioned earlier, ophthalmology is a very dynamic field. There's so much that is changing. We have all kinds of interesting toys to play with, like lasers and all kinds of things, all sorts of surgeries, etc. But my typical day is divided. So I do surgeries on Mondays and then every other Tuesday. I typically do about 25, sometimes 30 surgeries during the Monday. And then I go back and see my patients post-op that afternoon. And then Tuesday afternoon, I will operate. But Tuesday morning, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, I'm in the clinic seeing patients. And Thursday afternoons, I tend to do lasers, which are done in the office. I might have some minor procedures that are done in the office as well. But the majority of patients that I see in the office are clinical visits and non-surgical things that we see.
As a follow-up question to that, Doc Ravi, how do you maximize your system in doing surgeries? I know some doctors can only do 6 or 8 surgeries a day, but you're able to do 25, 26 a day. I'm pretty sure you have an efficient system in doing that. If you don't mind sharing with us, how do you make that happen?
Sure. So efficiency is very crucial. I'm a solo practitioner. I happen to own my own business. Of course, in ophthalmology and in other medical specialties here, jobs vary. You might work in a big hospital. You might be part of a big department. But in my case, I'm a solo practitioner, and I have the business to look out for as well as my patients and my schedule. So for me, it is crucial to be efficient, not only for the sake of our patients, which is first and foremost, but also for the sake of my employees. I have 30 employees, and I have to make sure that everyone gets a paycheck, etc. So efficiency is very crucial for us. So what I tend to do is I have 2 operating rooms. I work at what we call an ASC, which is an ambulatory surgery center. It's a location that is separate from where our clinic is located. But I operate out of 2 operating rooms, and I am able to go back and forth. I also have a trained crew that works with me. There are some members of staff that are part of that ASC facility. They're not my employees. They assist with surgery, and they're nurses that watch the patients before and after the surgery. But in addition to that, I have members of my own staff who I have trained to go with me into the operating room and do some aspects of the setup, not the surgery, but some aspects of the setup. For instance, they will prep the patient's eye and drape the patient for me. I have trained them myself how to do this. They will set up the microscope. So all I really have to do is to go from one room to the other and do nothing but the surgery itself. And then the breakdown after that, when we're removing the drapes and bandaging the patient's eye, is also done by trusted and trained members of my staff. I find that has increased my efficiency greatly. I also, several years ago, videotaped myself, and I watched my movements and eliminated all unnecessary movements and all unnecessary instruments. I was watching how many times I was going back and forth between the tray, which is kept next to the microscope where the instruments are laid, and the patient's eye. And I've tried to streamline that process. That has also made me very efficient. I can now do cataract surgery in 5 minutes using only 6 instruments.
Oh, wow. Oh, wow.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Ladies and
Talk
gentlemen.
about efficiency. Talk about efficiency. Mike, if I may expand on that real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
As Dr. Ravi said, he is running his own business. So for most doctors, I'm sure a lot of doctors are not business inclined. They're medically inclined, right? They're trained to be clinicians. It's one thing to be a clinician. It's another thing to run a business, right? I like what you said, Dr. Ravi, that you watch yourself and figured out what movements, what processes are wasting your time. And that's how you improve your efficiency. Guys, if you're listening to this, whatever industry you're in, whatever business you're in, I want you to practice the same thing. Try to reflect. They say that hindsight is always 20/20, right? Try to reflect. What have you done in the last 5 years in your business? And where are you spending most of your time? If you're spending most of your time doing Facebook, watching TV, I want to call you out tonight.
Why are you looking at me, Bert, when you said doing Facebook?
So you gotta be efficient with your time, because once you use that time, you can't get it back, right? So thanks, Doc Ravi, for sharing that. Mike, any further questions?
I want to harp on what Bert and Ravi, if like what I said, you have to write down what they're talking about. Dr. Ravi talked about efficiency. Efficiency is the key. Efficiency is the key. And he even actually videotaped himself. If you are not crazy, super duper efficient, who in the right mind would videotape themselves and just being really, really, wanted to know, hey, I'm wasting time too much on this area here, and then turning around and this. Guess what? Those are the actual business owners. Those are the actual mentors, because they have this blueprint. What is the blueprint for efficiency? The 4S. Remember the 4S. Remember the 4S. If you're watching right now, type in 4S. Type in 4S. Why? But before I say the 4S, I want to give a special shout out to Jen. We love you too. We love iBusiness. We love you. And Graciela DF, thank you very much for watching and for the thumbs up. But let's go back to what efficiency was, what Dr. Ravi was talking about, the 4S. First S is the skills. You have to have the skills in running that business. And that's what Dr. Ravi has. He has that skill on being an ophthalmologist, being a surgeon, or whatever he's doing, right? The first S, letter S, type in there. Type in skills. Skills. What's the next S? What's the next S? Strategy. He had to have a strategy, not only in his skills, but also in his business. He has that strategy there. Okay, I'm going to go to this area first, and then boom, boom, boom. Strategy. What's the next S? The third S is the system. You have to have a system in place. If you don't have a system in place, it's not a business. It's a hobby. That's what Bert is always preaching to me. Mike, you have to have a system in place. You have to have your payroll stuff. You have to have this system in place. If you don't have a system, it's not a business. It's just a hobby. What's the last S? Support. You have to have support. You have to have a team that will actually support you and push you and be supportive in your business. So that's the 4S that Dr. Ravi was talking about. Skills, your strategy. What else? What else? Your skills, your strategy, your system, and your support. Thank you for pointing that out, Dr. Ravi. Appreciate you, sir.
Sure.
That's awesome. So now let's move on to the next question. And I think a lot of new grad physicians are going to want to hear this. All right. So for a new grad physician, what would you recommend? Would you recommend for them to start their own practice as a business, or would you rather recommend them looking for a job, be part of a hospital system or whatnot, and work for someone?
So again, this is a very interesting question, and it really depends on what the desire of that young physician would be. It is not easy starting a medical practice in the US in these times. And not only in these times, in the last decade or so, it has become very difficult because of all kinds of changes in our healthcare industry. It's not an easy thing to start a medical practice, but where there's a will, there's a way. And if somebody is motivated to be their own boss, to have their own business, to run things the way they want to run, then I highly recommend that they do what I have done. I cannot do anything different. I am very happy with my situation. But there's some people that might be more comfortable in a different setting, in a bigger group, for instance, so that they share the burden of running the practice. Or maybe not in a group in private practice at all, maybe part of a hospital system where they are salaried and maybe get a bonus, and they don't really have to worry about the workings of the everyday workings of the hospital, the personnel, etc. They leave that up to the business people to run it for them. So it just depends on what somebody's desires are. But I think if there's a strong motivation to start one's own practice, then go ahead.
Love that question. I love that answer.
Awesome. All right, I read this thing once, and it reminds me of this quote that I read one time. I was driving and I saw this in the back of the car. I think it depends on the level of risk you're willing to take, right? And since we're talking about business, I read this thing that really stuck with me, for the rest of my business life and up to now. It says, people who don't take risk work for those who do. Isn't that right, Mike?
That's right. Yeah.
You know what? That
Exactly.
is right. And I just would like to harp on what Dr. Ravi said. If there's a will, there's a way. In the Philippines, we say it, if there's a wheel, there's a car. So, but before we keep going, we're going to go a quick break and we'll be back.
Let's see.
We rise as one. Leave the pain behind. For the future is bright. Know that we are here to help you rise again. The new channel. See the new.
All
And
right.
we're back.
I'm back to iBusiness in the new channel where we interview different awesome people on how to improve your influence and impact. It's me again, Dr. Mike Chua, and my co-host, Bert De Vera. Bert, take over again.
Sure. So I want to bring back Doc Ravi. We're going to keep hammering him with questions while we have him. Again, thank you for sharing with us your time. I know your time is very valuable. We appreciate you being on the show. I would like to ask you a very important question, again, to benefit those who just recently graduated as a physician or the ones who are still in the corporate system and been wanting to open their own business, okay? What would you say to someone who's on the fence of wanting to start their own medical practice but just can't pull the trigger, okay? What would you say to this person?
So we talked about the importance of mentorship, and I think this can work on many different levels. So if somebody is still in medical school or still in residency, this is an opportunity to maybe visit certain programs, find a mentor, see how various programs work, how various clinics work, various businesses work, get some idea of what structure of business they want to do before jumping in and doing it without without any idea in mind. And then perhaps if they have graduated already, they may learn the ropes, join a company, work there for a few years so that you learn the inside of the workings of the company, learn the system, learn how to do medical billing. There is so much that we are not taught. There's so much to learn in medical school. We don't learn the other side, which is running a business, especially if you're going to be in solo practice. So take some time to maybe join another practice, learn the ropes, and then start your business if you still feel confident and you still have the desire to do so.
Wow. Great advice. I mean, I believe in having a coach. Even the gazillionaires and billionaires and soon to be trillionaires like Jeff Bezos, I'm sure they have their own coaches, because somebody has to look at what you're doing from the outside, somebody who's not vested in what you're doing. So, I mean, I really believe in mentorship. And thank you, Mike, for really hammering on the abbreviations of what it is to be a mentor. So thank you for that, Mike.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. What can I say except you're welcome? Well, anyway, like what, Dr. Ravi said, mentorship. You have to find a mentor, ladies and gentlemen. If you're finding a mentor, find somebody who is actually doing. You have to find somebody who's actually doing it, not just somebody who's actually teaching you how to do it. Somebody who is actually doing it, just like Dr. Ravi. He had to find somebody who is actually, a resident. What do you call that? You're a resident, you're a consultant. You have to find a consultant that will teach you and mentor you. And same thing with what I did with Bert. I reached out to him. I talked to him. Hey, Bert, could you coach me how to do what you're doing? And then bam, I've learned what he do. You have to mimic what you want to be. If you want to be an ophthalmologist, follow Dr. Ravi. If you want to be a business owner, like a home health person, follow Bert. If you want to be crazy, you follow me. So that's the purpose there. You have to find somebody who's actually one step, two step above you, and that way you could follow through. Thank you very much for pointing that out, Dr. Ravi. Mm-hmm.
Sure.
So, Dr. Ravi, if there's one advice you can give to our listeners, especially physicians, what would that be?
I think we have given a lot of nuggets here tonight, but I would like to circle back. We talked about our tennis, Bert, and we learn a lot from tennis that we can apply to our lives as business people. And so just like we do in tennis, we listen to my wife, who is our coach, and we don't fight with the coach. We listen to words of wisdom. We size up our opponents as early as possible. We learn the rules of the game. So when we're on the tennis court, even during the warm-up, we are studying our opponents so we know what is coming. And we make adjustments. This is the other thing, is be prepared to go with the tide. If an obstacle comes your way, then learn to adjust. This is what we do in tennis. If we are playing and we're losing, we have to readjust our strategy and find out what it is that we're doing wrong. What can we do to win the game? Also, we don't get disappointed in tennis just because we lose one game or 1 point. That is not the whole match. There's several sets to be played. If you lose one game, that's not the end of the match. You change your strategy, you win the next game. So that is the advice that I would do, is be persistent, be very watchful, learn from every opportunity.
In short, listen to your wives, right?
And listen to your wife.
Listen to your wife. A happy life. A long
happy
life,
wife,
right?
longer life.
Yeah.
Oh, well, I think we have the same rule too, Dr. Ravi. The rule that we follow here in our household is that rule number 1, wife is always right. Rule number 2, if the wife is wrong, go back to rule number 1.
Amen.
Well, anyway, I know we're running out of time, but I just want to harp. I just want to keep on talk about what Dr. Ravi mentioned. It's very, very applicable to us, ladies and gentlemen, in our business, in our lives, in any type of situation. What he mentioned here is about playing a game, playing tennis, because I know Bert and Dr. Ravi plays tennis. So here's what he said. Size up your opponent. Size up. It means you have to look at, what are they doing? What are they doing? If they're doing that certain move, guess what? Try to do that move too. Try to do that move. If they're doing a backhand, guess what? Try to do a forehand. Size up your opponent. What's the next thing that he said? Learn the game. If you want to be in business, you have to learn the game. You have to learn the ropes. He mentioned about finding a mentor. Go reach out to some mentors out there. Reach out to Bert. Reach out to me. Check out my website, drmikechua.com. Reach out to me. We'll download our free ebook there. So you have to learn the game. Number 3, learn how to adapt and adjust. He said he had to adjust his swing or whatever you call that. In that way, you can be successful in life. What's the next? Strategy. He said about strategy. That word again, strategy, because you have to have a strategy in life. You have to have a strategy in life. And next, he said, be not disappointed. Be not disappointed, because you're gonna get disappointed in life. You're gonna get those. You're gonna lose in that game. But it doesn't matter how many times you failed or fallen or lost in that game. What matters is how many times you get up and do this all over again, because it's a game. Life is a game, right? And last but not the least, he said, be persistent. Be persistent. Just keep going, ladies and gentlemen. It doesn't, like what I said again, it doesn't matter how many times you've lost that game, that match. Guess what? Just keep on going. Keep swimming forward. Keep playing the game called life. Again, Bert?
Whatever happens, do not show your wife your disappointment, or you will be disappointed. So don't do that. All right. But on a serious point, I'd like to ask Dr. Ravi one last question. Here at iBusiness, the I always means improving your impact in your industry. All right. So just one last question. How do you think physicians can improve their impact in your specific industry?
I would place education as at the pinnacle of what you need. We talked about the 4 S's. That there is also a system with the 3 P's, which is people, product, and process. So people in our business, the people are both our patients. Those are most important people, but also the people that we employ. So we take time to make sure we're taking care of our patients by educating ourselves. We have programs in our office where we continue to educate our own staff so that they get better and better and better. So education is the pinnacle of that. And then the product is what we're delivering. You can't deliver a good product if you don't know the heck out of it. You have to know everything about your business. And this circles back to being educated. And finally, it's the process, learning how to be efficient, learning how to do things in the best way possible. So remember the 3 P's.
I wrote it down. I didn't realize you like acronyms too.
The 3 P's, people, product, process. Well, folks, we are 3 minutes away from wrapping up our show, actually 2 minutes. And here at iBusiness Show, we always want to share, important topics that would benefit the public and basically how you run your business efficiently. So this wraps up our 2nd episode. I want to thank you for joining us. But before I go, I want to ask my co-host Mike for any parting words.
Before we let you go, always remember the word FAST. F-A-S-T. F-A-S-T. Letter F. Find friends that will push you to your next level, because you are the average of the 5 people you hang out with. Right now, I'm hanging out with Bert. I'm hanging out with Dr. Ravi. Guess what? I'm going to be their average. Bert is is millionaire. Ravi is a multi-millionaire. Guess what? I'm going to be eventually, hopefully someday, be a millionaire like them. So Dr. Ravi, thank you very much for coming over. For those people who are watching live, thank you very much. And then next, letter A, you got to learn how to take action. All this stuff that we're doing, it's not going to do me good. It's not going to do Bert good. It's not even going to do Dr. Ravi good if you don't take action on it. Take action following all those stuff that he just mentioned. The 3 P's, the 4 S's, whatever acronym there. And then last but next is letter S. Letter S. Shoot for the moon. Why? Because if you keep shooting for the moon, you're going to be landing with the stars. Why? Right now, I've landed with the star. I landed with Bert. I landed with Dr. Ravi. And last but not the least, letter T. Letter T is teach it. Why? Because when you hear it, you forget. When you see it, you remember. But when you're actually teaching it, just like Dr. Ravi's doing, you're going to understand it more. Again, Dr. Ravi, thank you very much. We appreciate you. Again, thank you very much, Bert. Bert, any last parting words?
I'd like to thank our guests for joining us tonight, and please keep joining us every Tuesdays and Thursdays, 8:30 p.m. Central, 9:30 a.m. Friday Philippine time. If you have any questions, any suggestions, just put it in the comments or send us a message in Facebook. Thank you again, and thank you for joining us here at iBusiness.